going on, everyone? Welcome into my player preview for Nasir Little. This is going to be a good one. I'm expecting Nasir Little to take a third-year jump, and I'm going to get into the reasons why, as well as some statistical goals and skills that I would like to see him display this season. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button below and hit the bell button to get notified when I drop a video. And let's just get into things with a player that I know a lot of you are extremely excited about as we head into the 2021-2022 season. That is, of course, Nasir Little, aka Nas. Last year, Nasir Little shot 47% from the field, 35% from three, and averaged 4.6 points per game. He played in 48 games, started 2 of them, and played 13 minutes per game in those games. I'm expecting a minutes bump this season as well as a bump in production, and I expect Nasir Little to finally have a consistent role which he has yet to experience during his young NBA career. Now, as far as last season goes, it was kind of a tale of 2 seasons with him shooting the ball. His 3-point shot is kind of the main factor in him as a player. A lot of people are sold on his shooting based on how he shot during the first half of last season, but based on the second half of last season, I am still a little bit wary. Before the All-Star break, in 20 games, Nasir Little shot 46% from 3. After that, in 28 games, he only shot 25.6% from 3. So he had a downtick in 3-point efficiency. You definitely don't want to see him shooting around 25% from 3 this year. I will give him a 3-point percentage goal later on in this video. But beyond the 3-point shot, I believe he showed flashes of being able to get to the rim and finish, which is something that everybody has expected him to develop as he ages into his career. He also showed a couple flashes of playmaking ability. While he wasn't really put in a position to do that, he did have a couple things that I noticed last year that I'm encouraged by going forward, looking at him as a guy that can maybe create for others off the dribble. Overall, this season is hard to base off of last season because last season Nasir Little played under Terry Stotts and he had his role yanked around. Terry Stotts said he had earned the backup shooting guard role, and then the next game Nasir Little only played 4 minutes. That was just kind of a microcosm of Nasir Little's playing time in a Portland Trail Blazer uniform. He'd have games where he'd get chances, and then he'd have games where he wouldn't play, especially his rookie year, where guys like Mario Hezonja and Anthony Tolliver would play ahead of him, which drove me crazy his rookie season. I also think this guy just didn't fit what Stotts wanted to do. Stotts' ISO and pick and roll heavy system did not fit his style of play. He's not a guy who can break guys down one-on-one off the dribble just yet. And then on top of that, a conservative defensive scheme I don't think works for Nasir Little. I want him in passing lanes. I want him getting out on the break and in transition, and the Blazers really didn't do that last season. So therefore, the coaching change going from Terry Stotts to Chauncey Billups has me extremely encouraged for Nasir Little as we head into the season. That's because I would love to see more backdoor lob sets for Nasir Little. I think we ran 1 all year last year and it worked and it looked good. I would like to see that. I would like to see Nasir Little as a cutter. He's quick, he's athletic, he's strong, he has a really long wingspan, he can put a poster on somebody. He should be a deadly cutter in a half-court offense, and his movement should create problems for the defense. However, last season, he kind of just ended up parked behind the 3-point line, and that's why 48% of his shots were 3s. Now, I want him shooting 3s, don't get me wrong, but a guy with that athletic ability, that finishing ability, that straight line slashing ability should not be taking 48% of his shots from the 3-point arc. That's just my opinion. You can disagree with it if you want. But I think Chauncey will utilize him very, very well as a cutter in the half court, and it'll make Nas a bit more dynamic. Also, as is the case for other players on this roster, I think a half-court offense with more player and ball movement will make it a little bit easier for Nasir Little to attack the rim off the dribble. You just have guys on this team that aren't 1v1 isolation creators. They're not CJ McCollum. They're not Damian Lillard, right? So they struggle if they're having to attack a set defense and a set defender in a one-on-one situation, and we saw that last season. However, if you get get the defense shifting and you get the defense moving, it's much easier for Nasir Little to catch the ball, and maybe his defender isn't in front of him because the defense has been shifted due to ball movement, and then therefore Nasir Little has a gap in which he can attack, and when you give that guy a runway, it's a problem for the defense. But despite him not being a creator just yet, I would like to at least give him the opportunity to handle the ball in some pick and rolls with the bench unit. I would love for us to develop that skill set within him to make him a guy that can create for himself and others off the dribble out of pick and rolls, and hopefully kind of expand his isolation game to be able to break down defenders at some point. I think Chauncey might be willing to give him that freedom. We'll have to wait and see on that, but that would be something that I would be curious to see and see how Nasir Little handles that this season. Now, Nas said he lost 10 or 12 pounds and was quicker and more athletic heading into the season, and we saw a clip of him probably committing a charge on Cody Zeller during the pickup games that the Blazers were playing before training camp, and while it was probably a charge, Nasir just looked great on that play. How quickly he got to the rim and how explosive he looked. I am very excited to see that manifest itself on an NBA court this year. I think the most important skill for Nas, though, does go back to his three-point shooting. If he's a guy that can shoot 35, 36, 37% from three, then he's a guy that defenses have to respect, and they have to close out on him hard. And Nas is a guy that if you close out on him too hard, he can do a good job attacking that and getting downhill and building up a head of steam and attacking the rim. And we need guys like that on this team. We need guys that are athletic forwards that can attack a closeout and get to the rim explosively. He's that guy. So it all starts with defenses having to respect his outside shot and run him off the three-point line, because if he's not shooting the ball well enough, then defenders just aren't going to close out on him that hard, and they're not going to give him a lane to the rim for him to attack. I think a good statistical goal for Nas is to shoot 36.5% from three. That's kind of an arbitrary number, but he shot 35% last year. I would like to see him get that to 36.5. That is going to be my three-point percentage goal for him. And then last year he shot 57% from two, but with expanded opportunities and maybe a little bit more freedom, I wouldn't expect that to kind of stay there. My 2-point percentage goal for him is for him to shoot 52% from two. He's a guy that I expect could get to the free throw line a lot, so I want to see him shoot at least 77, 78% from the free throw line as well, and that would make him very efficient. Now, outside of just pure efficiency, kind of going back to some things that I want to see him do this season, I hope the team runs a lot, because you have a lot of players that I think are built to run the court. I want to see Larry Nance Jr. grabbing a rebound and pushing the pace, and Nasir Little filling the wing. If you have Nas, if you have Ant, two athletic freaks that can knock down the three-point ball but then also get to the rim and be athletic, then that's a situation with a playmaking backup four that I really, really like. And that's a team that should definitely push the pace in transition. And if, you're not able to get anything, run some half-court offense, use Nas as a cutter. CJ McCollum will likely be playing with the bench unit, so then if the shot clock winds down, you just give it to a CJ McCollum and he attacks one-on-one and makes something happen. But I think we should consistently look to push the pace, especially with Nasir Little in the game, just because of how quick and athletic he is. I also would like to see Nas push the pace on his own. He actually was surprisingly a bit more in control when he pushed the pace last year than I expected. While he didn't really do it much at all, I think he's a guy that can play quickly with the ball in transition, but also play under control. And a lot of young players have issues with that, where they either have to slow down to make sure they're in control and then they're not truly pushing the pace, or they try and push the pace and they end up going too fast and they end up out of control. So finding that fine line, finding that balance is something that I want to see Nasir Little continue to do. He said the game is slowing down for him, so hopefully that means that if he's pushing the ball in transition, or even if he just has the ball in the half court, he's able to quickly make reads and decide whether or not to attack the rim or maybe pass to a teammate. Now, defensively, this is the other key for him. He needs to be an above average defender next season. He has the physical tools to do it. He has the mentality to do it. He has the motor to do it. There is absolutely no reason Nasir Little should not be an above average defender next season. There are some technique things he needs to figure out. I think he opens up too much when players attack him. He kind of steps out of their way instead of sliding in front. That's something that needs to be fixed. I also think he needs to be a little better getting through screens, but that was a problem with pretty much every player that started their career under Terry Stotts. So I expect those things to improve. Long term, I want Nasir Little to be a lockdown guy. I mean, with his foot speed, with his strength, with his 7'1" wingspan, there is no reason why he can't be a really, really good point of attack defender. So I'm hoping to see the start of that. Last season, he was iffy on the defensive end, but I mean, the whole entire team sucked. So this year under Chauncey Billups, I am going to be heavily watching his defensive improvement to see what that looks like. Now, some more statistical goals beyond just the efficiency goals that I stated earlier. I have a goal for Nasir Little to play 18 minutes per game. This is the first minutes per game goal that I have for a player because Nasir Little, I think, should be in the rotation from day one. I think he should be aiming to push for 18 minutes per game. Now, based on a goal of 18 minutes per game, in those 18 minutes, I'd want him to average 8 points per game. Per 36, that's 16 points per game. That might seem like a lot, but if the bench is playing fast and therefore has a lot of possessions, and he's able to have an efficient season, I think he can average around 8 points per game. That's almost double what he averaged last season, and I'm hopeful for that. I would also like to see him average 1.5 assists per game in those 18 minutes. That's 3 assists per 36. That also might seem a little high, but I'm setting ambitious goals for him. It's not going to be a failure if he doesn't reach these goals. This is just something that he should push for, and as a player, you're not going to be thinking about your stats like that, but a goal of 1.5 assists per game would basically just be something ambitious in terms of him becoming a better half-court playmaker than he's shown. In those 18 minutes, I also think he should get at least 3 rebounds per game. That's 6 rebounds per 36. He's shown that he's a decent rebounder, and he's had some flashes of being a really good offensive rebounder. He hasn't put that together consistently, but if he's a putback threat, then that'll just increase his offensive production. And those are my statistical goals for Nasir Little. Now, finishing off this video with his role, I think he should be the backup small forward. It's going to be hard because you're going to see lineups with Rocco at the 3 and Nance at the 4, so there might not be enough minutes, but Norm can slide down to the backup shooting guard role a little bit. That would cut into Anthony Simons' minutes or maybe CJ Mccollum, so that gets kind of iffy. So it's going to be a situation where there might not be a ton of minutes to go around, but in case somebody's hurt, he's going to get more minutes. We have some positionally versatile players, so it's a situation where even if it's a guard that gets hurt, that just means more guard minutes for Norman Powell and therefore more small forward minutes for Nasir Little. If it's Rocco or Nance that gets hurt, then obviously you're not going to be playing both those guys together at both forward spots, meaning more small forward minutes for Nasir Little. If one of our big guys gets hurt, one of our centers, Rocco and Nance can both play some small ball 5, so maybe you slide Nasir Little up and he can play some small ball 4. It's a situation where he's the 9th guy in this rotation, and if everybody's healthy, he might only have 12 to 15 minutes per game, but if somebody's missing, maybe we're resting somebody or whatever, it should get him probably 20 minutes in that game. And if he's out playing Anthony Simons, then Norm might play more guard, allowing Nasir Little to play more small forward. So everything is kind of in flux here. I definitely think he should get an opportunity. I think he will get an opportunity. Chauncey has raved about him. So I'm expecting big things for Nasir Little next year. What are you expecting Nasir Little to do next year? What are some of your statistical goals for him? Let me know down in the comment section below. I enjoy reading your comments on these players, and Nasir Little is a guy that the fan base definitely is excited for, so I'm curious to see what some of you have to say about him. Anyway, that wraps up this player preview. I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, have a good rest of your day. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.